welcome to the Predictive Analytics Colloquium. My name is Joe Czika, and I'm with the National Academy's staff that supports the Intelligence Community Studies Board, which is supported by the ODNI. This is the 10th colloquium in the partnership of the academies with the ODNI. And before introducing the representatives from ODNI and the Academy to extend their welcome, let me give you a few administrative announcements. This is an unclassified meeting. Please help yourself to coffee and tea outside, but if you need something more substantial, there's a cafeteria down the hall and down the stairs. You can ask a guard for that direction. The restrooms are right across the hall from us, so they're very convenient. And you will note that this colloquium is being videoed, is being webcast, and also video record is being made, and that will be available from our website in about a week. The colloquium program will be posted on the video screen as well as the paper handout that you had. They're available on the desk, and also a handout from one of our speakers in case you want to look more carefully at what he's going to do. And we're always interested in your feedback on this colloquium and any others that we've held. And we also would welcome your recommendations for new topics. We conduct these about twice a year. We could do more maybe, but twice a year. And we're always interested in good, interesting topics. So let me move on. To extend a welcome from our ODNI sponsor, I would like to introduce Dan Flynn. He's the Director of Net Assessments in the ODNI. Prior to this position, he was the Director of Global Security for the National Intelligence Council, NIC. He has held senior positions in the CIA and other intelligence community organizations. Dan has a BS in aerospace engineering. He's a rocket scientist. And an MS in National Security Strategy. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you, Joe, for that kind introduction, and welcome everybody. I want to thank the National Academies for hosting us today, and I want to thank our speakers, as well as Joe Czika for really putting this all together for us. We really appreciate it, and I appreciate the support of the academic and private industry communities for this colloquium. Just to provide a little further information on my background, I'm from the Directorate of Strategy Engagement, the Office of Director of National Intelligence. And our job in strategy engagement is to identify and develop and articulate the path forward for the intelligence community. And we do this by making certain future bets on strategic initiatives and other investments to make sure that the IC is addressing the enduring challenges that we'll see, as well as emerging issues that will come about in the future. But before we can make those kind of investments, we still need to understand what kind of future is that we're facing. And that's my job as Director of the Intelligence Community Net Assessments Division, to help us think about the future. What is those emerging issues and challenges, as well as opportunity the intelligence community will face in the next 10 to 20 years or so. And we do this to hope to shape our leadership's discussions about what investments, requirements, and strategies the IC needs to adopt to prepare for that future. To help us think about the future, we collaborate with the National Academies of Sciences through the IC Studies Board. And the IC Studies Board represents a convening authority to host experts meetings, colloquiums like this one, on science and technology issues of importance to the Office of Director of National Intelligence. And today we're here to discuss an important topic of predictive analytics, those sets of tools and methodologies to analyze information to make useful predictions about the future. And predictive analytics, as you all know, has great utility for private industry and academia, but also for the intelligence community. After all, we're all in the same business as many of the people in this room. We want to try to make the most of the information we have available. And predictive analytics can offer intelligence analysts powerful tools to better anticipating developments of importance to U.S. national security. We also need to be aware of the potential downsides. how maybe our US adversaries can use predictive analytics in their understanding of social behavior to design tailored malign influence campaigns targeted at our society. So I look forward to hearing your presentations today on this very important topic. I predict we'll all be in for a very interesting discussion this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan, for those insightful comments. To extend a welcome from the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, I would like to introduce Jim Henchman. Jim is the Deputy Executive Director of the National Academy of Sciences and the Chief Operating Officer of the National Research Council. Prior to this current position, he was the Academy's General Counsel. Jim has held senior positions at the General Counting Office and in the executive branch of the U.S. government. He has a JD degree from Harvard and is a member of the bar in Massachusetts and the District of Columbia. Welcome, Jim. Thank you.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to welcome you here. On behalf of all of us at the academies, I'm always embarrassed by the introduction. I don't think I've practiced law in more than a decade. It's once you go to law school, they never let you forget. I want to thank Dan and the ODNI for support for this colloquium and for the whole body of work which we're doing on behalf of the national security establishment of the government. Since I need to know here. There we go. Since its creation in 1863, the National Academy of Sciences has been providing advice to the government on matters involving science and technology. And national security has always been an important part of that work, in fact, central to it. At least apocryphally, our first task, once we were created in 1863, was to provide advice on how to make magnetic compasses work on the new ironclad ships. And that's representative of our work. It's always at the frontiers of the application of science and technology to solving national problems. During World War I, we tried to solve the problem of how to detect the approach of the new aircraft that were appearing on the battlefield. This was our best effort. As you might guess, the idea was that these big earphones would pick up the sound of the approaching aircraft and warn those on the ground. I don't think I need to tell you that it didn't work. It would turn out that radar was a better idea, but it took a few more years to get to that. And we've continued to work on these kind of national security problems, sometimes successfully. After World War II, at the height of the Cold War, we were the early advocates for the exploration of space, in large part because of the threat posed by the Soviet Union. And this is a picture of the Explorer 1 rocket, our first satellite. Those three people are Bill Pickering from JPL, who designed that rocket. In the middle is Van Allen. It was his experiment on the rocket, and then of course on your right is Werner von Braun, who built the vehicle that got that satellite into orbit. But the truth is that the challenges keep changing. The frontiers where we can apply science and technology to solve national security problems keeps changing. And today, those frontiers are in areas like cyberspace and predictive analytics. They're in worlds in which big data, artificial intelligence, and machine learning help us to make predictions in ways we never could before. And that's what we're here to talk about today. And I think it's time to get to work. You've heard that I'm a lawyer who's become a bureaucrat. I've now said almost everything I know about predictive analytics, and it's important to yield the floor to those who know a lot more than me. So thank you for being here. I hope it's a productive morning for you.
Thanks, Jim, for those insightful comments, and especially a brief glimpse at the history of the Academy. Before introducing our first predictive analytics speaker, I have a couple more announcements. You will notice that we have a front podium set up for our panel session a little later, and that panel session is meant for our speakers to entertain substantive and maybe difficult questions from you and from the webcast audience. So that at the end of each speaker's presentation, if you have a question of clarification of what they just said, please ask it. But anything more substantive than that, wait for the panel session, and that way we can keep the program moving along according to schedule. During the panel session, the people watching this colloquium on the webcast can send questions to my email. I think it was on the previous slide, but it's jczika@nas.edu, and then I will field that question and ask the panelists. I would like to thank Seth Goldstein of IARPA and Adam Russell of DARPA for their very helpful advice in putting together this colloquium. They are experts in this field, and their suggestions were very good. Needless to say, though, any biases, errors, or misjudgments are entirely my own. Thank you. So,